Hello, everybody, and welcome to another review stream, brought to you by me, Tabletop Junkie, and I am your host. And we are doing a Castles and Crusades review of the Codex Slavorum. Gonna show off a little bit of some of the artwork here, real quick, before we start going through some of the things. I've been this one I particularly this one I like. This one is more like Transylvania feel, so it gives you the Ravenloft feel with the feel of Kryn, Dragonlance. So, but before we jump right into it, let's show off some of the work here. So this artwork is pretty good. It's made by Troll Lord Games, and most of it is like everything else grayscale and stuff like that. So, and I think we do get a map. I like this. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, that's awesome. I definitely like the title page. So this was once again written by Brian Young, and of course I believe there was a few other people editing it as well for the artwork. But so anyway, let's go through it. So this is the same as like everyone else, except they did do some rearranging in this one a little bit. So in the first chapter, you literally get all the history of the old Slav they call them the old Slav states, which was basically like the Byzantine Empire and stuff like that. And you definitely get a really enriching history on that. I do recommend that. That does actually count for a lot of this book. This book is actually shorter, I think, than the rest. It's under 100 pages. So yeah, definitely a very much shorter book. But you do get some enriching history on it. They immediately move from that to the myth of the religious background in the second chapter, which pretty much between the first and second, the first chapter you get real life history, the second chapter you get mythological history before you start diving into the gods. So pretty much 20% of the book is just split between real life history and mythological history, which I do like that. So it does talk about in the original chapter does start still talks about the Slavic tribes and stuff like that, starting from the 1st century all the way up to the 8th century. It even has a map in the book, which I will actually show that real quick for you. Map of all the entire Slav areas and tribes, Slavic kingdoms. This kind of gives you the feel, like I said. So then they move, the myth behind it gives you the feel of like dragons and vampires, kind of like Transylvania and Ravenloft. So, or no, Transylvania and Ravenloft and Kryn and fantasy of vampires. Good stuff there. Good stuff. All right, so then we move into the third chapter, which actually talks about many of the peoples and monsters that they actually had. They actually added in some monsters in this one that was based off of the Slavic myths as well. That is the entire third chapter. And then in the fourth chapter, they immediately jump into magic, pagan religious rites and holidays. And then they give you some character classes and some character races that you could actually use, such as the Dragonborn. They give you the Dragonborn race as well as give me one second. Dragonborn race. There was another race they give you. Oh, and an elemental race as well. Which they actually, you can tweak that to however you like, and then they give you the classes. They give you the vampire hunter class, as well as something called the Koldundi, which in my book is basically they deal with arcane magic, so that's like a wizard class, a tweaked wizard class, and then the Mulfir, which is kind of like a shaman or a cleric class. So definitely give you some additional context there in the third and fourth chapter very easily. In the fifth chapter, they actually go into the gods and the Slavic and the different gods that people believe is the different beliefs in gods that they had in the Slavic tribes and kingdoms. Tribes and kingdoms. You know, they switch between Slavic tribes and then Slavic kingdoms. So, I'm getting those mixed up. They were tribes as once as they were as well as kingdoms. People grow. Things grow. So, they called them the gods of light and dark. Which, you know, in Dragonlance, they called them the gods of light. And the gods of dark was pretty much the only thing that they had. But yep, they talk about the light and dark gods. And they actually go into some context with them, with what they meant, and their names, and who they were, and give you a little bit of history of these gods. And that actually goes for a good chunk of the book. I believe that's chapter 5. That is the largest chapter of the book, as well as the other ones are pretty decent size, but it's hard to measure out because you've got like 6 or 7 chapters, which is normally for these books. They normally have 6 to 8 chapters. So they didn't really, in this book, they didn't really divvy down the chapters at all. They just divvied down the pages. So it's very hard with how much is counted for which. I don't know if it's all the same percentage. But it's definitely, I mean, if it's all the same percentage rates, then it's kind of like, oh yeah, this is a good chunk of the book right here, you know. But it's actually got some good read. Very easy read, light reading. Definitely got to give it a bonus thumbs up for that stuff, because it is this has actually been a little bit more easier read than some of the other books. Or I could just be saying that because this is the 6th review I've done on a codex. So yeah. They've gone through all the gods, as well as famous holidays, sacred days, holy locations, offerings, sacrifices, prayers, religious rites that they go through. And in one of the final chapters, they talk about the battle strong and heroics of the Slavic warriors. And basically, this is like what we call the battlecraft that we keep saying each one before they start, probably even before they start. I think this was one of the earlier books. But they talked about how the old Slavs fought, and, you know, told you what they fought with, and gave you an idea context about what a Slavic warrior, how they would fight. And they're kind of like barbarians in a lot of ways. So they're kind of easily relatable to that. And then they even talked about some of the famous, actually heroic people that actually did live back in those times. So, and then in the final chapter, which is chapter 7, they actually help you. Oh, excuse me. Give me just a hot second. I got to get me a drink of coffee. Yeah, I am yawning way too much. I was up early today, folks. I do apologize. I was up early, like 5 o'clock in the morning. For me, that was like 4 hours ago. All right, getting me some coffee. Which we did pretty good, but I think I started slowing it up a little bit. So, all right. So in the final chapter, they talk about some of the characteristics and aspects of the old Slavic culture, shared with some similarities of Germans and the Celtic and the European people, as well as, so they take these aspects and tell you basically how you can incorporate them in your game into Castles and Crusades. They even have another naming scheme. I love naming schemes. I love, like, when you get old Slavic naming schemes for male and female names, it helps you create characters based on that kind of a background. So those are usually pretty good. And that's only like the last few pages of it, so it wasn't really like a big chapter. So perhaps that was just like the final thing to say is, like, less than like 3 pages. So, okay, so given that, and given that we did this review in a reasonable amount of time, I definitely got to say, as far as the easy reads go, I basically did almost read word for word about what this book actually gives you. It's almost like I was reading the back of the book while going through it, which I didn't even have the back of the book pulled up because I wanted to show off some things. So, basically, what lies in this book? Well, the history and myth history, the history, myth stories, and gods of the Slavic people. Yes, definitely there. Monsters, additional races and classes for you to use, as well as aspects from Slavic society. As far as information is concerned, definitely thumbs up. I already gave it a bonus 2 thumbs up on, how easy it was to get through it. And definitely artwork, definitely high thumbs up. It didn't seem like it was missing a lot of artwork. I wish it was a bit more of an extensive book. I do wish for that, but not really anything where I'm going to even mark that against it whatsoever. It is a pretty good read for inspiring stories. So yeah, like I said, information, artwork, thumbs up. So we're about 4. I think that's pretty much covering the whole thing, actually. Believe it or not, because it does give you a bit more information on the gods. Although there was no artwork for the gods to actually show off, so maybe we could have had a little bit better version with that. So, either way, I have to give the entire book a 9 out of 10. The fanboy version of me would say 10 out of 10 easily. So, definitely highly recommend and a must buy. You can go to Trollord Games. Right now, I believe I do have the links in the description as well. I will double check that. I've been pretty bad about that, but let's see. Codex Slavorum. So you can get the print and digital version right now for $23.99. Print of the Slavorum is $19.99 by itself. Digital of Slavorum is $19.99 by itself. Oh my god, that's like double the price. Or you can get both, which is a bundle deal for $23. You actually save like $24, so with shipping probably about $26. It's $40 by themselves. That's not including shipping yet, by the way. I know to ship the book might cost like an extra $4 somewhere. So 44 minus, we'll say 27 at best. So 44 minus 27. I mean, you're saving $17. $17 to $20. Like, that's almost 50% off. Or you can get the bundle for, I believe, the bundle for all 6 books, still at $134.99. And I'm going to double check that again. Which is what I got. And I cannot wait for the other codexes to come out. I really can't. Because they're coming out with 2 new codexes on a Kickstarter. Or crowdfund. I don't know what you want to call that. It looks like it's actually not here anymore. Well, let's check the beginning pages. I could be wrong. Hang on, folks. Let me see if it's still here. Yep, still here. $134.99, and you can get the print and digital version of each book, which gives you six physical copies. One for each book, because there's 6 codices. I can't wait till the 7th and 8th codices are out. And then you get the print and digital version of each one. So that's still worth it. That is still worth it. So definitely take a look at that. Well, that's everything I have at this time. Thank you for anyone who's tuned in and to look over my review. I hope you guys did like the review, and I hope it gets you into the mood to buy this codex. So, buy Trollord Games. Trollord Games, they are an awesome group. I basically push for their work every time. I don't know if I have anything else regarding their work personally after this. I have to go through a list of more things I can review for them. So, All right, well, that's everything I have at this time. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Tabletop Junkie telling you guys to work hard, play hard, game on, everybody. Have a great and wonderful day.